So today was my first foray back into doing any form of bench press again, and it went really well. I was a little concerned that my shoulder might be sore from doing doing bench, just because it historically has issues with it, but it everything moved really well. Especially I had doing incline bench, which is considerably harder than doing flat bench, and I did it at 115, and really didn't run into any issues with it at all. So I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have to kind of stop during any of the sets, which is something that historically has been a bit of a struggle for me with doing bench in the context of bodybuilding, with doing such high reps, just because I have completely built my body for doing powerlifting, to where it's low reps, high intensity workouts, and it can take a bit out of you to do it. But I was able to get through this with really no problem at all. I could try to do powerlifting style of bench where I'd give a little bit of a pause, but I'm not really too concerned about that at the moment. I'm just trying to build strength and muscle in my chest right now, and I felt that this would have been appropriate to do. And I picked 115 just as a good baseline. It was a weight that honestly in the past I was really stuck on trying to do whenever I first started doing bodybuilding. I mean, hell, when I first started, I could barely bench 60 pounds, and then it took me a very, very long time to really kind of push over 100, and then I got stuck at 115 for the longest time. And I just wanted to do it today, just to make sure that I could do 115 on an incline in the context of sets for bodybuilding with no issue at all. And yeah, it moved fine. I didn't at any point really feel weak or anything. I didn't feel like I was going to struggle to finish any sets. It just moved very easily, and I'm pretty happy with that. With going through the rest of it, after I did incline bench, I moved on to face pulls. These are something that I'm always kind of ambivalent with, or ambivalent towards, with my current setup, just because ideally you want to be pulling from directly in front of your face, and I can kind of make it work with how my cable setup is, but I'm pulling from an angle down into my face, so I'm not really getting like the full effect of it. But I really have to focus on locking everything into my traps when I'm pulling, to get as much of that movement as I possibly can, and it works. As long as I stay concentrated on it and really focus on pulling with my traps, I get pretty good activation with it. But if I lose concentration at all, then I start running into problems, because I'm not really working my traps directly anymore, and it can make it a little sloppy when doing these reps. As far as choices in weight, I was just trying to find what was most appropriate for me, and I couldn't really run into anything that was really kind of stopping me, so to speak. But I'm also, again, not doing this in an ideal format. If I were working on a cable stack and were able to set it in front of me, I probably would have maxed out at about 50 pounds. It's just kind of my estimation. But, I was able to do 55 in a kind of, correct face pull position. Plus, with the way I'm having to do it, I'd have to lean back so much just to be able to apply, to get the proper position for this. It just doesn't work as well as I'd want it to. If I had like some sort of pillar, or if I had some sort of rod or pole in the ground that I could use to adjust height up and down, like on a cable stack, I'd be great. But fortunately, I don't have that option. Once I'm moved into my house in a few weeks, I am going to be getting a rig for myself. Whether that has a stack on it or not, or something I look to do, kind of remains to be seen. I just want to get a good squat rack for now that I can feel comfortable benching in without fear of potentially killing myself, because I'm going to be working out alone from here on out. I don't know. It's going to be something I'm definitely going to have to really trust myself with, because if it's going to be something that's really kind of take the trust out of myself to where I don't have to worry about, if I fail this rep, I'm not going to be in a position to where I'm going to be able to get the weight off or whatnot if I'm trying to max out by myself, or if I'm trying to, do X, Y, or Z, and just kind of work a specific movement. I've looked at buying a cable stack for myself, but they are not cheap. They're like $2,000 to buy, and it's just something that's hard for me to justify buying, or at least right now when the whole rig itself is like $1,500, especially some of the add-ons I'm wanting to get with it. I'm wanting to get actual getting straps as the spotter arms instead of doing metal spotter arms, just so they're more durable for any weight that's dropped when I'm squatting. Dropping that 300-pound front squat or the 385-pound back squat, not great on my barbell. And if that were to hit the spotter arms, it's probably going to bend it. And I really don't want to replace it. That power bar is pretty decent. It can hold a decent amount of weight. And I prefer to try to keep it into a better position, and that sling would do better in preserving both the bar and the sling itself, as opposed to just doing spotter arms or those little like rods that get sucked through it. As for the exercise selection, I've kind of talked over and ignored. The lateral arm raises is something I wanted to try to do just because they're always a good movement for kind of building up the delts, and that kicked my butt. Those were pretty hard to do, and towards the end I decided, hey, what if I threw the fat grips on them? And wow, that made it really hard, to be honest, but it felt good doing them. Definitely tired out and struggled to get that last set done, but I did it. I was trying to avoid getting to a position where I was just kind of swinging them up, and I definitely managed to do that. So I was able to get good, strong movements with it to help develop the shoulders, but being able to do that every time, that's going to be a slow progression, even slower than something like this with the flat bench dumbbell pressing, just because it's such a specific movement that is very easy to cheat if you're not being too careful about it. As for the flat bench dumbbell pressing, I was curious how well this is going to go after doing 4 sets of bench press, not like 25 minutes earlier. But it went pretty well. I was pleasantly surprised at how easily it moved for me. And did my 3 sets at 45 and decided to set up the 4th set at 47.5. Just slowly building these weights up in this movement. And, this wasn't that bad. It's only a combined like 95 pounds. And it wasn't anything that was super difficult doing 12 reps at. I did feel like I slowed down, a little bit at the end. That's because I was having to catch my breath and go in between each rep and really kind of force that out. But I should be okay with doing 2 sets of that on Tuesday, just because I will be leading with that rather than doing that almost towards the end of the workout. And then the final exercise was a barbell front raise. I started this at 35 pounds, and I really kind of want to see how this went because it felt like hell going through and doing this. It is not an easy movement to do. It is not something that's super, practiced in most disciplines. You're really going to rarely run into a position to where you're raising something from your waist up to, a parallel level with your arms straight out the entire time using just your shoulders. And man, this was this was something else. This is probably one of the harder exercises I've done in a while, and this is only 35 pounds. I did not flip through my book, but I know that I know that my heaviest I got on this was 55 pounds, I think. It was in the 50s for sure, but that was with doing this for months and building that motion back up. My shoulders were a lot bigger then than they are now from doing exercises like this at a heavier load than what I am at the moment. But that just takes time to get back to, and hopefully it's a position or something to where once I start getting into the movement, like I have with other exercises, once my body adapts to it and is actually moving with it, the weights just kind of start skyrocketing up because my body's like, oh yeah, we know how to do this. We have the strength to do it. So let's just do it kind of deal, you know? So I'm hopeful for that. I think I'll be fine doing 2 days of shoulders a week. We'll kind of see how my body responds to it, and hopefully it's not anything that's too punishing for me, because I don't want to hurt my shoulders, and I feel like the way to prevent that is to train them, more than I had been in the past. I know I've been able to do like overhead press 2 days a week, but that's one exercise as opposed to, a variety. But at the same time, I'm spreading this load out between the shoulders and the traps, and my traps are at least used to heavy loading 3 times a week doing deadlifting. So they should be okay. It's just the shoulders, which may be the weak link here. But so long as I'm continuing to really just slowly work and develop them, and keep the exercise selection at a minimum, along with the reps and weights as I'm adapting to it, I should be okay. So I'm just going to keep pushing forward with it and trying, and seeing what I can develop in my strength and size in the shoulders. Outside of that, I really don't have much else to say. It was a pretty fairly easy workout. I didn't feel too tired or too exhausted outside of like some of the exercises, just because of the nature of them. It's working a very minuscule muscle in a very heavy position, but it was good. I'm really happy with how it went, and looking forward to doing the bicep and tricep circuit tomorrow.